welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is the first series of Server 2012 how-to. Today we're going to take a tour on the interface after installation of Windows Server 2012 how-to. So this is a fresh server operating system that has been installed in virtual environment, that is VMware. So we are going to look at the basic configuration that needs to be done once Server 2012 is installed. And after installation, we are also going to learn how to set up our domain controller, that is Active Directory Domain Services and then DNS. So we're going to set up our first domain controller for today. So we look at the overview of Windows Server 2012 how-to, and then you will then configure Active Directory as well as your DNS. Then at the end of the day, it will become a fully qualified domain, that is domain controller. Now before even we begin, we're going to first ask ourselves what Active Directory is all about. Now Active Directory is nothing but a rule or a server rule that is found in Windows Server 2012 or Server 2008 and above. Now what happened is that as a system administrator, we need to be able to manage resources, which includes users, printers, and all other applications that you have in your organization. Now all this information or these resources that is going to be stored needs to be distributed in a database, and that database is what Active Directory Domain Service is going to help us perform. So it means as a system administrator, once you set up your Active Directory Domain Service, what's going to happen is that you're going to manage the resources within your organization. You're going to manage resources which includes printers, all the devices that you can think of, as well as what the individual users that will be created. So you're going to centrally manage all these devices with the help of Active Directory Domain Service. So this is just a rule. So as we all know, server is derived from the term to serve. So whenever we talk about servers, then there are some rules that are built into it, of which that is going to perform one specific purposes. So depending on the purpose we want to perform, Active Directory Domain Services is going to perform that specific function for us. So we have different services that the Server 2012 how-to can perform for us. So this one you see here, we'll be picking one to talk about. That is what Active Directory Domain Services. Then as we move along, we will build upon whatever we learn today. But before we begin setting up Active Directory Domain Controller, so remember, anytime you install a rule, that rule needs to be configured. So once you have installed the rule needs to be configured. If it is not configured, then that rule or service is not going to perform a function for you. So once you install any rule in Active Directory Domain, Active Directory 2012 how-to, then it means that you need to configure that service, or you need to configure that rule in order for the whatever service or rule to perform its function. Good. So now let's head to Windows Server 2012 how-to. So this is our first Server 2012 how-to. So we are going to first check the version, whether it is true that this Windows Server 2012 how-to which version. So we just click on the file explorer from here. So what we're going to do then is to right click on this PC, then we go for properties. This should give us the information or detailed information or basic information about our system. So this one tells us the kind of system we're using. It tells us the installed RAM, the system architecture, and the computer name that has been given to this system. So these are the things or the basic information that you can get about your system. So this is Server 2012 how-to. They're just like a normal system, but once the rules comes into action, then it becomes a server. Okay. So now we're going to see the first thing that needs to be done once you have installed Windows Server 2012 how-to. Now the first and foremost thing that needs to be done when you install Windows Server 2012 how-to is to be sure that your date and your time is right. So you can see from here, your date and your time. If your date and your time isn't right, then you set it to the right date and time. So over here, if my date and time isn't right, I could just right click on that on the taskbar, and then I'll come to adjust date and time. Then I can be able to change my date and time. So here I can specify the right date and then the right time, make changes, make adjustment to whatever I want. If I'm okay, then I just click on OK. Then I can cancel and I click on OK. So this session we'll be combining command line interface as well as graphical user interface. So the graphical user interface, that's what you're seeing me doing. So when you click to perform an action, what you're doing is what we call the graphical. And when you type to perform an action, that also is called what? The command line interface. We short GUI and what? CLI. So when I combine two keys on my keyboard, that is Windows logo key plus X, or it gives me this drop down, or I could just right click on the start button and it gives me the same option. So either start plus X gives you this, or you right click on the start button and on taskbar, then it should give you the same thing. Then I'm going to look for command prompt, but you have to run command prompt as admin. Admin means you should run it as an administrator so that you could get administrative privileges. When you go for command prompt, majority of the commands that requires administrative privilege might not work when you go for command prompt. So you should either go for command prompt admin. That is the same as what administrator. Then I'll select that one. Now, as we saw, the graphical means of checking our system's address, of checking the permitted name of our system, we saw that we went to the File Explorer, and then we right click on this PC, and then properties, and then give us these details. You can also do same using command prompt or the command line interface. So this means the graphical, and then this means is what? The command line. So whenever you see this interface and then you start typing something in there, then this becomes what? The command line interface. So I just have to type system info. So let me increase the font so that we can see it from all over you are. So let me increase the font. Okay, the font is already increased. So let me make it larger. Then I can increase it. So at least you can all see. This is the last size that I have here. Okay, so what you have to do is you just have to type system info, and once you have typed system info, you execute the command enter, and then this should also give you information about your system. So you can see from here, it gives us what? Our system information. So it's giving us a system name. So let's scroll up to a little so that we can see. So you see, it gives us the name of our system. It says the name, the version of the operating system, the name, the manufacturer, and so also this one also gives us what? Similar information as we need. Okay, so we can minimize this at the moment. Okay, so just have to minimize the CLI. So that's a way to check your system's information. Now if you type a command and then you want to clear the screen, you just have to type CLS so that it clears the screen so that you can get a blank interface. So CLS is a command to clear screen. So that is, so as I said, you'll be combining graphical as well as command line as we move along. So I'm going to minimize the command prompt for now. Now, so as we said, the first thing you need to do is to make sure your date and your time is accurate or is right. If it's not set well, then you can use a graphical means. That is where you come here, you right click, and then you select what? Adjust date and time as we did. That's the graphical means. And then with the command line interface, all you do is in here, just type date. Now when you type date, the system is going to give you today's date or the current date as is shown in the system, or as the current date for your system at that time. If the date and your time isn't right, then you have to provide it as you are seeing it. You provide the month, the day, and the year. If whatever you are seeing is right, you just hit enter and it takes you through. Type time, and time should also give you the current time. If the time isn't right, then you have to set the right time. So you set the right time. It is not the right time. Just say the right time. So you provide the time as you are seeing it. So if what you have provided is the right time, just execute enter, and this one is also going to take it. So that is another way. So this is a way to set your date and your time. So this is a command line term, and then the one we practice here is the one graphical interface. So you first have to be sure that your date and your time is accurate and is right. Good. So the next thing that we need to do, this interface you're seeing here, this is what we call a server manager. It gives us what we call the dashboard. So you can see the dashboard is divided into 3 parts. So you have the dashboard, the side views. So this is the first pane, the second pane, and then the third pane. And these are some options also. So on the dashboard, you will see the basic information that needs to be done. So you need to configure this local server. So if I click on configure this local server, then it will appear. If I click on the package bar, when you click on configure, you can see it tells us that that's the first thing you need to do. So first, second, third, and then fourth. So these are the options that we can do. So what you need to do is to configure a server, or either you click on configure the server or you click on local server. So this all servers are the server that has been configured. This system has not been configured at all. So it says not activated, we don't need to activate. And this is the name that has been given to the system. This is the address or the IP address that has been given to the system. And then these are the files and storage services, so the hard disk and other stuff that we have also. So you need to go for local service. Good. So the first thing that needs to be done is the date and time. So once date and time is done or taken care of, what you need to do is to change your computer. Now as a system administrator, you need to use specific identities. You need to be able to identify each system or each resource that you have on your network. So this system that we're going to set up to become the domain controller, this system we're going to set up to become the server, needs to be configured, needs to be given identity so that we can uniquely identify the system. So for that case, we need to give it identity. So we need to give it a name. Now after giving it a name, we need also to give it an IP address. So it means that if you want to identify this system or this server, once it's configured to become a server, if you want to identify it, you'll be identifying it with its name or with its IP address. So IP address or the computer name is just like if I want to come to your house, or if somebody is looking for someone's address, or you want to visit someone, you use their house number address or house number, then it will locate that specific address. And every house number has a unique identity that has been given to each house. So similarly, it applies here also. So we need to give identity so that we'll be able to identify or be able to share responsibilities for anyone within the organization. So we need to change the name of our computer. So we just have to go here and select whatever name you see, when dash something. Just click on that. It gives you this interface and click on change. Divide the line. So we like to call it, of course we're going to set up to become a controller. So we have to call it like this. So that's the name of the video. You can also use command line to do similar thing. So when you wanted to do this, just type command and this one is also be able to so all that I'm trying to tell you is that whatever you click on, you'll be able to use command line to do this. For our case, we're going to stick to the capital interface at the moment. As we move along, we'll be using the command line interface as we move along. But the basic stuff that needs to be done in the command line, I'm going to perform that. But remember, you can also do the same thing in command line interface, all you're doing as a graphical user. So I'm going to change it to DC, then I'm going to click on OK. So now it says that this name is going to take effect, but it's going to take effect when the system is restarted. So click on OK. So you can see changes will take effect after the system has been restarted. So I'm going to close it. Then I'll restart. So it's going to take a few minutes for the restart to go through. So Windows Server 2012 is in progress. So it has restarted. So now you've seen what you are supposed to do. So the first thing you need to do is to make sure your date and time is accurate or is right. Now once your date and time is perfectly set, what you need to do is to make sure you give a name. So you first have to give the computer a name, and to give it a name, you say you have to go to a local service or local server, and then you can be able to change. So you can see the name DC has taken effect. So you can see it's done perfectly. So now we said after giving it a name, we need also to give it what? An address. So we're going to give this system an IP version 4 address. So we'll be talking about IP version 4 address later on throughout in this series. So I have to double click on Ethernet adapter and I can click on details. So if I click on details, this is the addresses that has been given to me over here. So what I'm doing now, as I click on Ethernet, this over here, it gives me this interface. I can also get the same by right clicking on this. This is the network adapter. I can right click over there, then I'll select Open Network and Sharing Center, change the address settings, then I can get the same interface. Or you can also combine two keys on your keyboard and you start logo key plus R. It gives you now when you type this command ncpa.cpu. So this command also will launch the same thing. So whichever way. And then you can also use the command line interface. So let's go for the command line interface also. So over here, when you just type ipconfig, it gives you the IP address that has been given to your system. So similarly, it says 192.168.128. So you can see it's the same thing as you are seeing here. So you can also set an IP address using the same thing here. So I'm going to show you the command that you have to type in order to set an IP address. So you have to know about this command. So if you want to learn how to type this command, I'm going to have it posted on below the description, so you can check on the description and see how you can get a command line to set an IP address over here. So I'm going to close it, and you're seeing this. So you're going to set address manually as well. So you have to click on properties and then look for IP version 4, double click on IP version 4. Now there are two types of address. You have IP version 6 and IP version 4. For our case, we are working with version 4, so let's go and then uncheck IP version 6. Then we can proceed and double click on IP version 4. Here it is set to retain address automatically. We want to manually assign address ourselves. So over here we provide the address ourselves. So I set class C address, so 192.168.0 and then 1. So for testing purposes, this is how I would like to name my address. Then I click in here, it gives me the server mask, and then I would like to give it a preferred DNS address because that's what we're going to use to set up the domain controller. So I'm going to repeat the same for the preferred DNS. Now click on OK, and then once again OK. When I click on details now, it should give me the new address. Now when I come here and I type ipconfig once again, this should give me the current address. So you can see we have gotten the same address or the current address that we want to set. So now we've been able to change our date and our time. At the same time, we've been able to give a name to our computer and we call the name TC, and now we are giving an address as well, IP version 4 address. So this is the mainly few things that need to be done in order to make this system get going. So over here, if I also want to check the name of my computer, I can just type host name. So let me clear the screen for CLS to clear the screen. If I type host name, it's going to give me the name. So now the name is what? DC. So now we are done. So we are now going to go for a row as we talked about. So now the row we talked about, now the time here needs to be the current day, because whenever you are done setting this on as domain controller, when any system becomes a member of this server, then it means that it's going to synchronize the system's time on the server on all clients and all systems that becomes a member of this system. So you have to be very careful and make sure that your gating time is always having the accurate and current the perfect time. Good. So now once you're done, when you click on servers, now you can see that now we have only one server here. So this is the server that is available at the moment. So that is it. And it says this server is online. So and the address is what? 192.168. So now it is getting the first address that we choose first or earlier on. So what I can do is, let's try refreshing. So we just refresh and realize that it has changed whatever we had to the current address that we have changed. And server name to have now changed. So now we have given identity. So now we can identify this system or this system here on the network. So now we're going to set this one up to become the domain controller, of which is going to be used to control the resources as we have talked about earlier on. So this is the function of what we're talking about. So we need to install this role. Now, Active Directory Domain Services and then the role called DNS. Now these rules go hand in hand. You cannot install Active Directory without what is without DNS. So they go hand in hand. So once Active Directory is installed, in order to make a system become a fully qualified domain controller, of which you can be able to manage resources on the network, then you need to make sure that we configure DNS as well, because DNS is going to be installed alongside the Active Directory domain one. So we're going to see that as we start a particular lab. So now let's continue with our lab. So we're going to add roles and features from here. So I just click on tools. So we are seeing how to add those add this first role. So if I click on tools, it gives me all the basic tools that I want. So these are all the basic tools that is found on this system. So this is what you see. I can decide to change the view of my screen. You can see how I want it to, the view should be. I can make changes and then adjust it to meet my own needs. So whichever way you can adjust it to meet your needs. So that is it. So now under local servers, you've seen that we have set up a server, and that is it. So let's move back to the dashboard. So on the dashboard, the next thing that we need to do is supposed to add what rules and features. So now features helps rules to perform most of their functions. So they go in hand to help what rules to perform what. So they aid rules in order to perform all the necessary functions. So rules can function without some features, but some features needs to be like they help the rules in order for them to perform fully functional rules. So I just click on add rules. So when you just click on add rules, this is the interface you'll be seeing. So I have to come on here. So it says that before you continue, these are the things you need to do. You have to be sure that your computer has a strong password. Make sure the network settings in the IP address. So you can see that we have set our IP address. We have set a static address. And then we also have to make sure that we should be up to date. We are not connected to the internet, so we can't meet that need. But we can see from here that one of the needs is not met. So we have to meet that. We haven't set the system to have a strong password. Now a strong password means combination of uppercase letters, smaller case letters, special characters like at, minus, hyphen, all those ones, as well as numbers. So when all these come together, then we say we have a strong password. Good. So now, before we proceed to install or continue to add a role, then we need to make sure that we have set the right account. So automatically from here, we realize that the account I'm using here is user, and this user doesn't have any administrative privilege. So I'm going to make sure I create an account that will give me administrative privilege. So to do that, all you need to do is you come here, start +X once again, and then we can move to computer management. So you can get it from here. Then we can look for local users and groups to look for the users that we have. So you can see I have administrator and I have user. So I'm going to make changes in the name. So it's always better to change the administrator's name to a new name so that hackers will not be able to guess and know which account it is. So I'm going to rename this account. Now before I do, I'm going to make sure I set a password for the account first. So proceed. So it says you need to have a strong password. Now I can just type any password. If I type password as 1 and 1 and try to set it, tells me that the password does not meet password requirement. The requirement, as I said, you should have uppercase, lowercase, and special characters. So the password I prefer using is capital P O P at 9090. Once again, I repeat, capital P O P at 9090. So you see, I've combined uppercase letter, lowercase letters, special characters, as well as numbers. Then I can click on OK. Then the system tells me the address has been set successfully. So once it is set, make sure that that account is has been enabled. So you can see if I double click on this account and then I come and check over, you can see that the account is it's not disabled. The account is enabled. So make sure the account is not disabled. then you click on OK. So then users is no more, so we have to now, we don't need users any longer, so we can either delete it or we can disable it. So for our case, we go to properties, then we can disable this account, apply, and then what? OK. So that is that. If I had wanted to set a password for the account, so I could have done it here. I could have typed the command net user, the name of the account I want to set the password for, which is administrator. You type it as it is, administrator, and then space, and then asterisk means I don't want anybody to see whichever address I'm going to type, or I can leave it and I'll type the address that I want to type here. But if I don't want people to see whatever I'm typing, then I have to put it as what? Asterisk. And if I execute this command, it's going to tell me to provide a password. Whatever password I'm going to provide here, you won't see it. So whoever is peeking behind me to see whatever password I'm typing will not be able to see it. So I'll be asked to provide an address twice. If it is right, if it is not right as I provided, it's not the right password. So it tells me the password is not right. So that's the command. Net user administrator, then asterisk, to hide the password as you type. So that is also another using the command line interface to perform the same task. So as we have done here, all we need to do is to click on the start button, and then we can just click on the user and then we sign out. Or we can use the command line interface and we type, so Control C to come out of it, and just type log off, and then we execute this command. So you see it's going to log off for us. So we need to press Control Delete in order to log into the system. So I'll take the mouse out here, then I'll click on these three boxes as you see, just click on that, and then I'll see the user account is no more. We only have what? Administrator. So we have to type the address, the password that has been given to this account. So that is pop at 1990. So POP at 1990. So that is the password I said. So now you can see it is set perfectly. So now that this is taken care of, now we can go ahead to add our roles and our features. So let me just increase this a little. So under view, I'm going to give it 25. Okay, so this is alright. So now we are good to go. So now you can come here and add a role. So I can just click on add roles and features, or I will come to manage and add roles and features. So whichever way you'll be able to figure out. So to manage add roles and features, or add roles and features from here. So whichever way. So if you add a row and you want to remove it, you can't do it from here. But rather you have to come to manage, where you can we have remove. So when the row is added and want to take it off, you have to come for remove. So we are adding rows. So you click on add rows for you. So I'm trying to get this, the screen is too small, but okay. So now I've been able to meet the needs as they are expecting. So now I met the strong password. Now network settings and the IP address, everything is now configured perfectly, with the exception of the update. So now we can head and proceed. So once you proceed, this is the interface you see. Stick to the default and we can proceed. It gives us the name of a computer, and then it tells us what the IP address. Then we can proceed once again. Then we install the first row, that is Active Directory Domain Services. So I'll come and select what Active Directory Domain Services, and then I'll click on OK. Then I can proceed to install. Next, and then what? Install. So you're going to wait for it to install. Then after the installation, you will configure. So you can see that it is configured, it is installed now, and it's telling us to promote this server to do as a remote controller. So in the next series, or the next set of the video, our video series in server 2012 how to, Now we have seen how to set an address. So today, what we have seen today so far is that we talked about servers, and then we said that servers provide specific functions. This server derived from the word to serve, and then we have seen that servers or your Active Directory domain services is going to help us manage resources on a network. And I also saw that whenever you are done installing your operating system for the first time, you need to make sure your date and time is set right. You have to give a time, and your date and time should be accurate. You have to give a computer name to your computer or to the server. You should also give an IP address to it, and then you should make sure that it's having a strong password. So once this is done, then we went on to install our Pro and feature. So in the next set of videos, we're going to see how to configure Active Directory Domain Services or DNS in our next set of videos. So watch out for part 2 in this series. See you in the next video.